here, the person who's going to be sitting at this computer is Michelle Treece, and her and Katelyn Yarbrough are the ones that are moderating this series. This is our second in the series. We're so glad that you're here. So last time we met, Michelle Treece was actually in the conversation, and this evening, Katelyn Yarbrough is in the conversation. So tonight we'll be hearing from Katelyn Yarbrough, excuse me, and Brianna Williamson. And when I hop off of here, I'm gonna let Michelle throw it over to them, and they can tell you a little bit more about themselves.
Welcome to Conversations That Matter. We've got two women here with us today, Brianna and Katelyn. I think, am I not muted? I'm good? You're good. Okay. Brianna and Katelyn. And so these folks actually know each other. So I think what I want to do is start with, how do you guys know each other?
When'd you move here?
9th grade.
Okay, so we met in 9th grade at Science Hill.
18 years ago.
Oh God.
I know, right? Yeah, we're old.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, so that's how we met, just at school. I don't even remember why.
We were in the same English class.
Okay.
Allison Seeley's English class.
All right.
That's great. That's great. So Brianna, tell us about yourself.
I am from Johnson City. I am born and raised here. I went to Science Hill. I went to ETSU for 4 years. I cheered at Science Hill and I cheered at ETSU for a year. Then in 2010, I moved to Rhode Island and pursued a career in hairdressing. And then I lived there for 4 years. I met my husband there. And then I moved to Nashville for 2 years before moving back here in August 2016.
Okay. And then Katelyn, tell us a little bit about yourself. I think we know you, but give us something we don't know.
Well, I'm Katelyn Yarbrough. I am the owner and innkeeper at the historic Eureka Inn. I live to serve. At least it feels that way to me. I cannot say no to a volunteer opportunity. I'm the chairwoman of New Generation Freedom Fighters. I went to Science Hill. I was born in High Point, North Carolina, grew up in Savannah, Georgia, moved here. I actually missed the first day of 9th grade at a new school. Moving here, of course, that's my life. But went to Science Hill, actually with my husband, who's 2 years older than me, but we didn't know each other at the time, thankfully. And yeah, I went to UTC for a half semester.
We went there together.
Yeah, you left after one semester.
One semester.
But I went to UTC. I was going for pre-dental chemistry.
I was going for physical therapy.
Didn't do that.
Nope.
I got my first job. I have two younger brothers, so my nickname was Miriam growing up. And so I've always taken care of them. Wasn't allowed to have a job. Got a job at Mellow Mushroom in Chattanooga. Stopped going to class. I fell in love with the hospitality industry. Climbed the ladder rapidly, and then got snatched back home by my mom because it wasn't going to class. And then jumped into the hospitality industry here in the Tri-Cities and have been, I think I was one of the youngest general managers at 23 of the Battery. I was a front of house manager at Lakeview, Marker 2 Marina and Grill, corporate front of house trainer for Texas Red House, all those things. And now I am in a realm of hospitality I enjoy. It's not babysitting drunk people anymore. I'm now taking care of people and being an ambassador for Jonesboro.
Fabulous.
Something you don't know.
That's a lot,
Isn't it?
So one thing that I understand between the two of you is that both of you own small businesses, or I should say small and medium-sized businesses.
Oh, it's
Okay.
small these
Small
days.
business.
2020 made it small again.
There we go. Brianna, tell us a little bit about your business.
I own a hair salon. So I went to hairdressing school in Rhode Island, and then my first job was actually in Boston at a hairdressing school. And I was there for a little while. Then I went into a salon in Providence because the commute from Boston to Providence isn't ideal. And then I worked in pretty high-end salons. And then when we moved back, we went to Nashville, I worked in another high-end salon. And then when we moved back here, I worked in the salon here for a little while. And then if you knew me, it wouldn't be surprising that I work for myself. But I had kids, and I think I have a skill level that is good enough to work for myself, and I wanted the freedom to make my own schedule. And so that is how I got to owning my own salon.
And what is your salon?
It's just Brianna Williamson hair.
Okay.
It's just me by myself.
Where's that located?
We actually bought a house here that had a separate building, and so we made that into my salon.
Great. Katelyn, we know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So both of you are Black women, small business owners in Washington County.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more. How was that?
To be honest, I think a reason I left the salon I was at, it wasn't the reason, but it was beginning to be the undercurrent of why I left. It was because they were Trump supporters. And it was very uncomfortable.
I remember the text when you left.
Do we want to know that text?
No, we're not. We do
not
not have receipts and invoices for you this evening.
How about for you, Katelyn?
So I was the general manager at the Battery in Johnson City that was owned by 3 white men, two of whom are still good friends today, and one you can ask me off camera and I'll let you know. But it was very difficult to be a young woman in general, regardless of race, trying to run a business with 3 males that had different ideas for what that business would be for them, playground, whatever. So one of the owners ended up putting their hands on me after I'd worked about a 20-hour day on a New Year's Eve evening. It was a restaurant and nightclub, and so I was there literally decorating and then managing and then bartending and managing and doing all these things. And so I ended up leaving, and my younger brothers worked for me. I called my mom in the middle of the night and was just like, we are all out. We have left the building. Yeah. And so Blake and I traveled for a while, and we're now retired. We had a little bit of money and traveled, had fun, and realized we needed to get jobs. So he actually started working for the past innkeeper at the inn. And I was the sponsorship and advertisement coordinator at the JRT. It was based on commission. And then the past innkeeper started kind of a rumor that things were going to close. And so the owners, powers that be, started looking for new management, new innkeepers. And word got around town of my hospitality experience. And then my husband, Blake, actually worked at the Carnegie at their front desk for quite a while, and really enjoyed it. He actually should have gone to Johnson & Wales. He had that opportunity, but back when he graduated in 2004, male chefs weren't that popular. And he wanted to go to UT and party with his friends. So now I like to joke he's come full circle, and so he's doing food. But we were hired, and Dr. Kennedy here, if you're from Jonesboro, you know Dr. Kennedy. He is a wonderful man and has given us an amazing opportunity. And we let him know up front that we'd never done anything like this before, but that we like to think outside of the box. And so we brought what we had to the table, and it's been interesting working and living in the same place, which is actually quite convenient. Yeah. But being in Washington County and getting honked at by people with rebel flags flying off the back of their trucks while I'm trying to water plants, being involved in the movement, the Black Lives Matter movement here locally has been scary at times. And so I took my business anything related to my business, where I live, where I work, off of my Facebook. Still, if you go and check, it doesn't say that I live and work at the historic Eureka Inn for safety purposes. So being here in this area is not the absolute ideal thing, but I'm not leaving.
What's some of the challenges being a small business owner? What are some of the challenges you see just to go into work every day or to maintain your business?
For me, it would be in a salon, there is someone that speaks to your clients for you. You own your own business, you are all of it. So I think that for me is the hardest part. And I also have 2 kids. So just managing all of that is harder now than I think it would have been. But that's probably the hardest part for me, is really running every aspect of it and being on top of that and not forgetting things and letting things slip through the cracks.
And how long have you had your business, Brianna?
Almost 3 years.
Retweet the exact same thing. We do all of our marketing. Blake and I do the cooking. He's the mastermind of the cooking. I handle the finances, all the business aspects, everything, phone calls, emails. I'm managing like 6 different social media accounts at a time. So if you're ever trying to get in touch with me and it takes a minute, it's going to take a minute for me to even sift through to find stuff. But definitely juggling everything is difficult.
Yeah.
I know in this area, I don't think there are lots of small businesses owned by people of color. With that being said, did you have role models? Was there someone who can I talk to that looks like me? Did that cross your mind? Did you need that?
No.
You're going to do it. It's got to get done.
Yes.
Yeah. Growing up as a kid, did you frequent a lot of businesses that were owned by Black people or people of color?
No.
Well, you were here, right?
I was here. She was in.
I grew up in Savannah. My dad is Black. My mom is white. So my dad's side of the family weren't the nicest about us being biracial. I've been told a couple times to go back to my white mom, things like that. So
that's the interesting part about being biracial, is it comes from both ends.
Yeah, we're catching it from every angle and trying to keep our head up. But being in Savannah, I still caught it from Black and white people, just hatred or malice, whatever. But my mom did take me, talking about hair, she took me to a Black salon and dropped me off and didn't explain anything about my hair. I didn't know anything about my hair, and they fried my hair off. They put that real, the cast iron thing. They went to lay something down and it came off. And I just started crying in the chair. That was the first and the last time I went to a Black salon.
It's interesting because, like you said, like being biracial, same kind of thing here happened to my mom. My mom is white. My biological dad is Black, but I was raised by my dad, who is also white. But my mom took me to the Black salon here, and I mean, my hair was a mess, I assume. And they said, this is why white women shouldn't have Black babies.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think with me, because I've had people ask me, like, because we're biracial, like, it comes from both ends. But I think for me, I think that it took a while. Because, like, obviously we're more, like, we're big in the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that. I think that those things happen because of Black people feeling less than, in a way, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people don't, like, when people are like, why aren't you as upset as the racist things that happen to you from white people that happen to you from Black people? And I was like, honestly, a lot of times the racist things that Black people said to me weren't because I was Black, if that makes sense. It's because I was privileged. And I was.
I think being biracial is a topic that a lot of people, Black or white, probably have a hard time grasping. So if you could tell Black and white people, I need you to know this about me as a biracial woman, what would you say? That's a whole other episode.
That is that's a moment. I would say, and I've felt this way since a very young age, because I remember being standardized testing. It's the worst.
Or the
fill in the bubbles. I filled in Black and white on a standardized test in, I think, first grade.
And interesting, I filled in Black.
You filled in just Black? The, whatever you call the person that comes through to make sure you're not cheating.
Proctor.
the proctor came by and let me know that I could only fill in one bubble. And she asked me, you filled in black and white. What is your dad's race? And I was like, well, my dad's black. And so she erased the white. And I was like, well, what about my mom? And I felt like I was leaving my mom behind by saying, that I'm just black. I was like, but I'm just as much coming from my mom, that sort of struggle. But, growing up, you're told to be yourself, be true to yourself, all this stuff. So I'm just like unapologetically myself. And so if I say that I'm a black woman and then you hear me say I'm a biracial woman, I'm saying I'm biracial because you need clarification, because it shouldn't matter.
Well, it's for other people.
Yeah, it's for other people. I know who I am. I don't need to have, what am I, check my stamp or check my tag. But it's.
As I got older, though, I filled in other.
Yeah, I started checking other, and then if they had a line, I would write Nunya for None Your Business.
I didn't write that.
I was doing that.
I did check other.
I was that child.
I did check other when I got older.
Yeah.
But I mean older, like not like
high school, college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So staying with that same line, when you mention the school, I think about biracial kids in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
What could you say to those kids? Because again, I think that is a population that if you are not biracial, you will never truly understand that walk. So what would you say to these children who are biracial living in Washington County in 2020?
Don't let someone bully you. I mean, that happened to me. It's interesting because when you're young, I don't know, being young and being raised here and my parents were both white, I don't think I grasped what racism really was until I knew, which that also occurred. But there were mild things that happened, especially in school. I mean, I got suspended from the cheerleading squad in the 9th grade. I think it was 9th grade.
Yeah.
And it was literally for talking in class. And also not like, it was in chorus class. And not like talking in class while we were singing, talking in class while we were doing our paperwork that everybody like grouped off into pairs and did the paperwork with their friends. And then I never correlated it to race. I mean, my mom mentioned something eventually, but when it first happened, I never correlated it to race. I just thought that, I don't even know what I thought. And then as I got older, well, really honestly, like when all this stuff erupted this year, is when I was like, maybe it was because I was black. You know what I mean? Because like, what else was it? Back then we said it was because I was a cheerleader, but it was interesting because I had a best friend who was white that kind of like got drugged through it with me. But I don't know. I spoke up for myself, and honestly, like I got suspended for a game. Then we got in trouble again a second time, and I kept my mouth shut. And we got in trouble again, and I quit. And then
you didn't smile anyway.
No, I didn't.
She wouldn't.
I didn't smile at attention either. I think doing that and then growing up and knowing I'd done that for myself was huge.
Well, remember, we used to get in trouble in Miss Taylor's English class
all the time.
And
I mean, I always
She'd
got in
move
trouble.
us all over the classroom, and we would have.
And to be honest, I did talk in
new
class,
audience.
but I didn't talk any more than anyone else, if that makes
You
sense.
still paid attention.
I wasn't disruptive, I do not think. I think that I was and then it's funny because that teacher was white, and then it happened to me again in 8th grade. It happened to me before we got to the 12 campus, and that teacher was black. And she took me outside and was like, you're a cheerleader. So it was 8th grade, and then the chorus was 9th grade. This was 8th grade. She was like, you're a cheerleader and you're supposed to be a role model. And I mean, how old are you in 8th grade? 14? 13. I had the wherewithal to be like, I'm not anyone's role model. Like, I'm a child.
True.
But she said, my black daughters are watching you. And now I get what she meant, but that's not something you put on a 13-year-old kid who's talking in class, but the white boys don't get in trouble.
Can I answer that one?
Yes.
I would say the same thing of don't let yourself be bullied, but also don't feel pressure to hang out with a certain race because someone says so. So
well, and people will say stuff to you always.
Yeah. When I came to Science Hill, ninth grade. First of all, I was expecting to go to a whole high school of ninth grade through 12th grade. That's how it was in Georgia. Yeah. And I got up here and was like, Lord, I'm going to start a new high school, missing the first day of school. It was 8-9 campus. So it was just like middle school again, one more round. But the lunchroom was segregated.
I bet it still is.
It might be. It still is. But I remember coming through the line, and luckily my parents reached out ahead of time and got me connected with the soccer team, sent a video, stuff like that. So I was going to soccer practice my first day of school, met some seniors on the soccer team that came and found me after I met with the counselor, figured out my schedule. They showed me around the school. And so I was going to sit with my soccer team gals because they were literally the only people I knew. And I remember being stopped. It was Quentin, little Quentin, little black boy, came up to me after I got my lunch and was just like, why are you going to sit with those white people? And I was like, first of all, I'm biracial. Second, they're the soccer team and I'm on the soccer team. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you were both. And then he went on about his business, and he was cool in any other exchange. But I was just like,
it was segregated the whole time.
I did not realize that I was not allowed to go and sit with the white people, or that I needed to go and sit with the black people. And the day we moved here, my dad got out of the U-Haul and looked at the realtor, because he and my mom came separately and found the house and everything. But he got out of the U-Haul, and my dad's a jokester, and he was just like, where are all the black people at? And she just kind of nervously laughed. And he was serious, like, but really, where are all the black people? Yeah. And it's been that way for a minute until recently.
I mean, I think it's always been segregated here. I think it's politely segregated, but it's segregated all the same. I think that I think that Science Hill's lunchroom is an example of Johnson City. I don't know about Jonesboro, but I think that is very much still a huge issue here.
I have to say, as a retired teacher, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was at Science Hall High School. I saw the hallways. I saw the cafeteria and the gym. And I remember, you can tell me, both of you, what did they call the area where the black students sat? Do you remember that?
No.
The black hole. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember hearing that.
Yeah, that was what it was called. Again, I'm not there anymore. I'm sure there is still some of that, but interesting. It's very, very interesting conversation.
But I think, like, with us, why we've stepped up now, because I think we can identify that it was a privilege that your parents did that for you with the soccer team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to advocate more now, because I think back then we didn't. We didn't know. We were kids, though.
Now, my dad tried to make it a requirement that I had like 4 or 5 black girlfriends, and I was like,
but honestly,
they were not.
I understand where he came from.
I get it now. I totally do. And so, Antila McKinney, is she on here?
Just
McKinney.
I'm just going to read some of the chat, just because you just mentioned that. She says, I don't. Let me find it.
I know, right?
There's a lot of Science Hill High School 06, Kristen Valal, a year.
That's my mom.
Josh Smith, everyone, facts.
That's my brother.
Very talented young lady. Josh again, facts. He keeps repeating. And then Attila Loves, speak on it, ladies. Let's see, Britt
Butler.
Okay. There's a different standard. And then
she's the reason I joined the junior league. She was the president of the junior league when I went to the meet and greet thing.
And then let's see, she made another comment. Hey, just now, Tila. So folks are listening.
Good. Well, Tila was one of my very good close friends, and we did slumber parties. Miranda Cranbill Porterfield lived up the street, and I always felt like my dad was being kind of unfair, like you have to have. And I was like, who's going out and seeking out specific friends? I just vibed with the people I vibed with.
And I was on the soccer team, and I was a cheerleader, and that's kind of where you end up.
I was friends with everyone, though. So I was a clique jumper, not a clique jumper, but I had friends in every little aspect and every nook and cranny, and I was on Scholar Bowl and chemistry club and and played sports. And so I was like, everywhere and had people I could call on if I needed to, I guess. And even, and then friends with you guys, which y'all were like not the mean girls.
Don't even.
You weren't. But what did I drew a cartoon. It was the flock. And I labeled y'all as some sheep.
The flock's still together, though.
The flock is still flying. Yeah, the flock
Sure
is still together. But I did. I was very, I thought, honest with what it was.
Yeah, I think with me, I wasn't the academic performer that Katelyn was. So with me, I was in a lot of classes with a lot of the Black kids at Science Hill. So that helped with me, I think, because my family was white. So I had no exposure to the Black community. And so I think being in classes with, in 8th grade, it was almost all Black girls. And so I think that helped more than I knew it was helping, if that makes sense. And for who I am as an adult now.
If you could give advice to parents of biracial children fitting into,
or white parents that adopt Black kids.
That too. Exactly.
You have to seek it out. And I think what's sad here is that you still have to seek it out.
Seek out fellowship, culture, explanations of things.
In the Black community here.
Yeah, it's true.
I'll have to seek it out. Luckily, I have the flock that she's referring to. We're very diverse. My husband is white. My best friend's husband is Mexican. My other best friend's husband is Black. I have a best friend who predominantly dates Black men. And I have another best friend that's open to whomever. So I think that my group of friends is really convenient. But I think, for me, I'm trying to find an avenue for my little girl to be around more Black children. And so it's crazy that I still have to try to find that avenue in Johnson City, if that makes sense. And I think that goes back to being segregated.
And any resources I come across, I bought books for your children. They couldn't even read. I went to Umoja Festival. And
it's still a point you have to make here.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a place you can go and see everyone together, in my opinion.
It's true. I was at the festival. I was visiting you, Skye.
Besides the festival, but even then, again, it's still
people don't show up for the festival, so it's crickets.
Yeah.
And it's not like Blue Plum where the world shows up and it's a good time.
I think that's that is the bridge that needs to be built to bridge the gap. Here.
Yeah.
A question is on here that says, has either of you experienced racism from your parents? And I think you touched on that a little bit earlier.
Before Donald Trump, no. After, yes.
Can you elaborate?
I might get murdered for it, but
I know my mom's watching.
Maybe don't get yourself in trouble, I like to say. But
good trouble.
I think that I now really know what white privilege is.
That's true.
And that white people need to do a lot of, not even white people, everyone, even Black people, especially biracial people, have to do a lot of unlearning.
I think, so my mom and dad got divorced in my freshman year of college. And so I have 2 younger brothers. So my mom is a 5'2" white lady, married a 6'4" Black man, had 3 beautiful biracial children. And now she lives in Winston-Salem. And we went on a trip to Mexico, just my mom and I, with a group of her friends. And someone used the term CPT for my mom, and I didn't even know what that meant, and asked colored people's time, meaning she was late. Black people are late all the time. And so I asked him, he told me what it meant, and I was like,
was he white?
That's white. And I was like, that's racist. I wouldn't be using that term. We were hanging out by the pool in Mexico. Last thing I expected to hear from anybody. And so my mom wasn't there at all, but he let me know that she used that term all the time, blah, blah, blah. Mom, I don't know if you did. It was her boss's husband, technically friend and boss. But we got into it, and they're not going to come back to Jonesboro to visit, and I'm okay with that, but I stood my ground. And, you know, Mom, I don't want you to forget that you have 3 biracial children that you are representing at all times. So if you're letting things slide with your white friends, they think it's going to slide with us if they get around us, and it's not. The buck stops. I know with Josh and DJ, we aren't playing, but that would be the only instance, because my mom's definitely experienced some crazy stuff. Growing up in Georgia, she and my dad being with a black man with a white woman, being pulled over by white state troopers in Pooler, Georgia, him being arrested, had to call the NAACP. You know, they were mad because he was in the car with a white woman and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I know she's been through it all, but the passiveness of things is
that's the problem.
That's what's got to stop.
Wow. I don't want to miss this. Someone from iPhone Myra says, I'm proud of my daughter. I just want to put that out there. Let's see.
Because I've called it the wrath of Myra before.
So the other comments right quick. The research has proven the need for a diverse, inclusive, equitable educational system. This issue is present across the country. I'm very proud of both ladies to stand up. Your brother says the honors AP community at Science Hill High School is definitely racially stratified. And that's something that
he's brilliant.
Needs to
do
be
grad.
worked on.
Mom had to fight tooth and nail. She was all up in that Science Hill principal's office.
Yeah. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. You know, this summer was a big summer for Black Lives Matter. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you think we're heading and changes that you would like to see?
Well, one, I just hate that it's coming out of the loss of people's lives.
Yeah.
That it was literally a snuff film that is making people wake up. Like that's how far it had to go for white people to be like.
For white people to wake up.
Yeah. And then they're still not.
Well, they're not going to do the hard work.
Well, but they need to, because we're not the ones that are.
But it will fall on the Black community to do it.
Right. About time. Sad that it's having to be, you know, so much death. The portrayal, especially here in Jonesboro, I've spoken on this at the BMA meeting, that I know everybody knows what I've been up to. I'm not embarrassed by it at all, but I let him know that I am not a looter, an arsonist, or a rioter. So painting everyone with that broad brush and throwing us all in the same category is extremely irresponsible. And for those that are out in larger cities or inciting things in smaller cities, you know, shame on you, one, because you're detracting from the message. And two, these people are hurt and painful, and there's millions unemployed. And so these people that are looting, I'm not saying that it's an okay thing, but if you got to put food on the table, you aren't going to be seeing these looters walking around with these Gucci bags. They're selling them for money.
Well, and you should also, it's more shameful that we live in a country, but that's what it takes.
Yes.
That's what people should be ashamed of.
That there is no help. There is no system set up for anybody that is dealing with.
Well, and that's what makes change. And that's not a problem with Black people. That's a problem with America.
That's a problem with the system. It needs to be uprooted and reestablished correctly.
And that starts with putting Black people in the room.
Give me two people of color.
And women.
There we go.
And women.
Give me two very, or as specific as you can, things that people in this community can do. Either Black folks, white folks, both folks, biracial, whoever. But give me two very specific things that if at the end of this conversation, they can say, you know what, I'm going to go out and do exactly what they said to make that change that we need in this community.
Read a book.
Read a book.
Not a book.
Read White Fragility. Read, more
How to Be Antiracist by Ibram X. Kendi.
People don't know that they're racist is the problem.
True.
And that's not something anyone wants to say or admit about themselves, but until you can say and admit it about yourself, you've done nothing.
True.
Very good. Very good.
And a lot of people are racist. And like, you don't have to be a bigot, but there are like, unlearning is things that you don't, like, you clutch your purse when a black man walks in the room. You think of the fact that a black man walked into the room, and black women, but predominantly black men, like that you think something, you don't think that something when a white person does.
And I see a black person walking in the room and I'm just like, hey, so glad you're here.
Yeah, like people don't know that it's ingrained, especially around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's deep inside of you. So until you start to dig that up, you're not doing anything.
So acknowledge and read a book.
Mm-hmm.
I would say call your friends out when they do stuff.
Yes, do that too.
Do not
Don't put your tail between your legs.
Don't put your tail between your legs. This is not the time for that. We're in the middle of a global pandemic and a huge
And we're guilty of that
race.
for most of our lives.
We are. And I'm
like, this comes from two people who had to wake up themselves.
We had to work on ourselves because I think it's because we were catching it from both sides so harshly. I didn't feel that I belonged.
Because we haven't been as marginalized or as oppressed.
No, it's all been slight and very subtle.
So it was easy for us to take the easier route, and then we decided to stop taking that route.
Yeah, I'm nobody's little puppet anymore. And I've always been I love rules. I like structure.
I know.
Yeah, I know. But you know.
I'd burn the building down.
Yeah, you would. And I'd be the one like, no.
Depends on the day.
But I would say call people out and get involved. Do black-white dialogue. Reach out to the New Generation Freedom Fighters. We got a bunch of committees. Email your superintendent of your schools. Email your schools if you hear of something horrible. Blast it because people don't know stuff's going on because they try to sweep that
Most
stuff
people
under
don't know
the
the
rug.
lunchroom at Science Hill is segregated.
Yeah, shine a spotlight on it and fix it instead of just being like, oh, that's horrible. Flip the page.
It's worse.
No.
Nobody even says it's horrible. It's the norm.
It is what it is. Not anymore.
I
don't have children.
I don't want that
Be
lunchroom
glad.
for my children.
Right.
Because I chose to move back here, which was hard, honestly.
Well, and what's crazy is there are lots of biracial children and lots of interracial relationships in the Tri-Cities, and it's still super racist.
Yes.
That's what's wild.
But it's polite racist, which is worse. I'd rather just
Polite's too nice a word.
That's true. What's a word?
Faux.
A lot of
Friendly.
color blindness.
Faux.
A lot of color blindness.
Fake.
Yeah.
Color blindness. That's another thing. Don't say that you don't see color. You need to see
God.
color and appreciate it and accept it for what it is.
For sure.
You said two things. Just let us keep
Let's keep going because I think what you just said, those are things that I think people who have not acknowledged their racism yet think are okay to say. So share with us some of those things that you've experienced or you know happens in public, things that people say, things that people do that they think is okay, but
Well,
deep
it's also
down,
a lie.
it's
Like
racist.
people have told me, like, I never thought of you as black. That's not true.
That is
You certainly have, and you've said things before that would make it that way.
yeah. Microaggressions. It happened today and it's been in the back of my mind nonstop. And I know that this person did not mean it this way whatsoever because they're a very good person and a hardcore
But that's when
ally.
it's like even more shocking.
Well,
It's like even they're
saying
doing it.
something like,
Yeah.
You're so eloquent.
Yeah.
You're so
You're
well
so pretty.
spoken.
My whole
You're
life
so
it was
beautiful."
you're so pretty.
Yeah.
What are you?
Your skin.
And I was like, I'm black. And people will be like, shook. And I
can't
was
wait
like,
to see your children.
Like basically because I'm black and white, I shouldn't be pretty.
Yeah, they're shocked when they find out that
we're
we're
black.
Yeah. Oh. Like,
My whole life here.
what's that mean? Well, you must have some Native American. Or
Which I do.
Indian.
But that does happen a lot too.
Yeah. There's lots.
It's a lot.
Lots of slights that you don't realize. So telling somebody that they're
Don't
eloquent,
ask people what they are. That is so rude.
Yeah. And just say you did a great job. That was awesome. Don't tell me that I speak well because my parents are, well, now they're both were at one
Well,
time
them saying you speak well
educators.
is them saying that because you're a
That
black
they
person, I
assume-
assumed you would be ghetto.
Yeah, that I
Or
Ebonics and all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had someone tell me that within the last 3 years. And
You're
it was,
so well spoken.
yeah.
What did you expect that I was going to be?
And I did not confront them because it was in public, but I should have.
Yeah.
Well, we
But
have
I
to be
still
better
think
about
about it.
doing that. We have to be
Yes.
better about
Yes.
confronting people.
What do you mean by that?
And of course, I'm thinking, what?
Which I'm having to
you
get a lot better at,
surprised?
I would say.
Of calling things out?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I wasn't good about that for most of my life. And now I think I'm trying to take the hit, lose the friend,
Mm-hmm.
have the fight.
Well, I'm trying not to remove people. I'm trying to educate people, but there does come a point where I'm just like, why am I putting myself through this toxicity? I'm like wading through it, just trying to like save people's souls. It's what it feels like, trying to help you. And you want to drag me. Bye.
Leading to the next question. Have you folks lost friends based
Yes.
on?
And they don't even know it yet.
Mine know it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Mine don't. I'm
Mine.
waiting
The
to.
ones that they know.
I want to have a tasty moment where I can just go and not, in public when we can see people again in person. But yeah, I'm not going through all that. I'm just silencing them. I'm not unfriending them unless they've done something unforgivable, but I'm not gonna, you don't get to get acknowledged. You don't get to be acknowledged by me
I don't use
or
Facebook
tokenize me anymore.
at all.
I don't have to.
I didn't use Facebook in 2016. I deleted it.
Yeah, you did, and I had to come by and tell you all the news. That was annoying. I was like, girl, you need to watch the news. Crazy things are happening. You have to know these things in case you need to pack up and run.
I still need to pack up and run.
You do.
Well, somebody on here, Eli Williamson, says, I'm proud of my wife. Heart.
Aw. My husband's playing video games. 100%. I bet he's playing video games. Blake is not in there.
That is something.
He'll watch
Someone
it
else
when I
says,
post it.
Brent says, and don't give up when your efforts are shot down.
Oh, no. I just go to the next ear that's open.
Another question from someone, Tina McDaniel says, what gives you hope with the Black Lives Movement in our community? And what needs to happen to, let's see.
It needs to keep progressing.
Okay.
For sure. It can't just be a moment.
Oh, yeah. It's not over. Just because we're not out protesting doesn't mean that it's over. It means that we're considerate of our community's health and our lives.
And also, like, there really just has to be, like, more Black people in the room. Like, and even if it is something you literally have to put down in writing or make a space for, and not just the person that's over diversity. It has to be a person that makes decisions.
Somebody higher up. Yeah.
Mhm.
You can't just make a diversity and inclusion and equity thing
Group.
and be like, oh, we checked that box. No, because
No.
that is segregating in itself. When we were
Like,
starting,
when you're planning things for downtown, there needs to be Black people, not a Black person.
yeah, not a tokenized just one to check a box. When we were
That
doing,
then also feels uncomfortable when asked certain questions.
what do you mean?
If you're the only Black person in the room,
Oh, yeah. Yes, that happens a lot.
to you especially.
Yeah. When we were starting NGFF and I was, encouraging that we needed to have a public election for board members, and I put out the nominees, which anybody could say that they wanted to express interest in being a board member. It was diverse in the LGBTQ plus realm as well as in the race realm. And I had people message me saying, how dare you put white people on there? This should be all Black people. And I don't see any representation of LGBTQ, of the queer community. And I had to take a day because I was so mad. Because one, the reason that it's so large today, the movement, is because white people that have a backbone
Spoke up.
are speaking up and are using their privilege. They're giving us the card and letting us swipe it. They've given us a spree with their privilege card, they're doing these, I don't like the white barrier thing that they're doing, but I mean, in big cities, people are doing that where the white people get in the front with shields and stuff to like protect the black people.
Okay.
When the police are doing their thing.
Right. The mom and dad shield, I think they call. I was thinking that was for.
Well, they've got all kinds of different shields now, but you know, shame on you. It should be diverse, because honestly, when it is nothing but black people, it's easier for people to cast it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
People will be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the black thing.
Exactly.
Got it. They're here representing whatever.
Mhm.
And then as far as the representation of the queer community, I'm not about outing my friends. If they aren't comfortable being out and about and what they are and who they love or don't choose to love, that's their business. And for you to expect everybody to have some sort of label, that's what's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, stop putting people in a box and mind your business. If we want to step up and serve and not get paid anything and be out here putting our reputations and lives and voices on the line, then shut your mouth or step up or get out of the way.
If you could wave a magic wand and change Washington County, Johnson City community large, what would you change? If you could wake up tomorrow and it's a whole different looking place, what would it be? How would you make that look?
The good old boys would be out of power. And you know who I'm talking about. There's a lot of them. I'm just sick of it.
It stops the growth of a lot of things. It's not just for black people.
It does. That also, with that wave of the wand, people would take local smaller elections seriously, because that is where
Nobody
you think
goes.
it doesn't matter, but those small decisions, where do you don't just jump to president. There are small steps that are taken. And so your board of mayor and aldermen, your commissioners for Johnson City, I'm proud. I am the campaign manager for Alana Norwood, the only black female candidate for Johnson City Commission. I'll give her a shout right now, give her a vote. There are lots of good people running, but you know, get out there and register, make sure your friends are registered. It is so serious and so important, because that's where it starts. Those papers come across their table and they can just slough it off to the side if they so choose, instead of taking things seriously. Mm-hmm. Some people don't even read their packets that they're given before their meetings. They just get in there and wing it because they really, truly don't care. They just want the power.
And have it. And have
it, wield it freely. My grandfather was, nobody cares. Do you take your job seriously? Can you read your packet and be informed? With the wand, a lot of things, my wand would be busy.
Or that those people would advocate for people that needed it.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Or, yeah, that would be honestly a better wand movement, is to make them care to advocate. But they don't need to be in the power still, too.
Or they need to share it. They need to be aware of sharing it and want to share it. That's what I don't get.
Where do you see yourself as a small business owner, Washington County, Johnson City in general? Where do you see that in 10 years? It'll be 2030. And let's figure out how old you'd be and then go from there. 10 years from now.
I'll be in Congress.
My
husband will be running the business.
My business will hopefully be very different. Hopefully it'll be a nonprofit for I don't like saying the word underprivileged or underserved
lower
communities, but for black, especially little girls in this area, to go and get their hair done for free
and learn about their hair and what they need. Everybody's hair is different. That's the thing is
with black people. Everybody's black hair is so different across the board, and to be able to teach them how to take care of it.
Is that something that you thought about?
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, my whole life has been revolving around my hair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a surprise. I'm a hairdresser. But then as I got older, I realized, my hair was awful until, honestly, 25. And then,
Affects
and it
your
was
self-esteem.
it affects your self-esteem and it affects your self-worth. And my hair wasn't as bad as it can be by any stretch of the imagination. And so I think if out the gate, little girls in this area were taught about their hair, understood their hair, and were proud of it,
Embrace
their
it.
lives would be a lot different.
The Crown Act needs to be passed.
Yes.
My mom said that as a kid, your hair is your crowning glory. Bless your heart, Mom in heaven. And I can relate to the whole going into the salon and the perms and all of that. My little crown was crumpled and wrinkled and not a happy looking crown. I started dreadlocks the day I got my letter for tenure as a teacher at age 34.
And it's a shame that you had to feel you had to get tenure to do that.
Right.
Security.
Exactly.
The fact that they would have told her she couldn't.
Well, and it was the thing, even my mom was like, Michelle, what are you doing to your hair? So that is a very interesting concept. We could have a whole conversation on hair alone. But I appreciate that because I do feel a lot of our young Black girls just have hair issues.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot. I think a lot more of our kids are embracing that hair and that freedom hair, as I like to call it.
Well, but in order for your hair to be taken care of, it isn't cheap.
Right.
So it needs to be free or affordable.
That's a wonderful, wonderful plan. I think that's great. I think that's great. How about you? You're going to be in Congress, you said.
That's a plan. Yeah.
I'll do your hair.
You do it already. She's the reason I have this ponytail right now because my hair was just busted back in the day. We were in the back with our hair. Mine was breaking off from stress and just I'm on the go all the time. You see it in this tight ponytail, but headbands, hats. She's slapping my hand nonstop, like, stop it, come get your hair trimmed. She takes care of me. But yeah, I was going to run for alderman here in Jonesboro, and thank you, Terry Countermine. I don't have to now. So yeah, I'm setting my sights higher.
Fabulous.
I'm going to continue working diligently and hard with the New Generation Freedom Fighters and getting that into nonprofit status. Serving the Junior League, started a diversity and inclusion task force. That needs some attention. If Britt, I know you're watching, we're going to have to work hard for that because that's one of those box check things for the Junior League. So we need to make it count.
Not a box.
Make it count. McKinney Center's Diversity and Inclusion and Equity Soon group. We're working really hard, just continuing the collaborative efforts. That is the goal right now, at least with the people I'm working with in the Black community, is to bring us all together and make sure that when we do throw a punch, not a fight punch, a theoretical punch, when we throw a punch, it's got everybody's effort behind it, not just these little one-offs that just, we shot our shot, we tried. No, we all need to take a step together and then
to make change,
not go back. Yeah,
exactly.
There is no going backward. They let us out. We have freed ourselves, and so there is no putting us back in our place. Yeah, we did. We did.
And I think they need to hear that. And I will sure share what I know. So we're looking at about 5 more minutes, maybe 4 minutes left. If you could give me one comment to the Black women in Washington County, if you could say, ladies, I need you too, what would you, let
yourself be seen.
Perfect.
Walk with your head high, be proud. Wear whatever it is that, I love to be colorful and wild. And I don't care. I can feel the necks breaking trying to look, and I don't lock eyes. I've stopped making eye contact with people. We're all a big wave. I'm so used to people not waving back that I'm done waving. If you know me, I will acknowledge you. You better call my name because I'm not looking for you. I'm looking straight ahead, eyes on the prize, and walking with a purpose. And I'm feeling very free by that. It feels good.
Great. Let's see if we have any more last comments. Let's see. someone wants to help with Alana's
Please.
campaign.
It is.
Your brother is spelling. He must have like a fancy hand. Trash. F-A-C-T-S.
Yes, this Josh. He's in Baltimore.
Treece,
He's a teacher right now. I'm worried about it.
Love you.
Okay. Teresa Hammonds from McKinney Center. Museums, historic sites, art galleries, and community centers play a huge role in education. They provide cultural experiences and programs. What topics would you like to see such organizations cover, talk about, and do programming on?
The ETSU Slocum Galleries, we're partnering with them. They're doing the Black diaspora, but the Black community, the African Black community before slavery. Can we please talk about the kings and the queens and the communities and the villages that were built and the Eve gene and all of these wonderful, awesome things that come from Black people that we don't know because they won't put it in the history books? Put that in the museum, put that on an exhibit and travel that around, because people need to learn about that, because we're taught from the beginning that we're an oppressed people, and we weren't.
And I think getting down in like the dirtiness of the slavery stuff, like it's a very,
Stop being so glossy over it.
yeah, like let people know, like when people ask me stupid questions about Black issues, like Black people can't even trace their lineage back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my maiden name is Smith.
Yeah. So it's like, why?
And I don't want to do a DNA test.
But it's like, you just, like, people don't really get how bad it really was, I don't think, around here.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't even know that Black people were stolen. I've had people say things like that to me.
Yeah.
Like, why would Black people want to come here? They didn't.
You're right. That's where I think my own little thing on that is that, and
because we're not told that.
we're not taught that, and I've learned so much within the last 2 years that it brings me to tears
Oh, yeah.
to know that in my age I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. So those are all wonderful points.
The International Civil Rights Museum in Greensboro, North Carolina. Blake and I are going to visit my mom in Winston-Salem this next week, and we are so excited to go back. That's where I got my Maxine Waters shirt. It says "Don't test the waters." Will get me another shirt when I go, but they don't shy away from
The truth.
the truth.